All right, hello. This is Aaron with Chiron's Cave,
And hello, this is Susan, also with Chiron's Cave.
and today we have a special guest, my cousin sister, Angela.
Hi.
So
You might wanna, explain that a little bit better, cousin sister.
yeah, you're my cousin sister. So w- so brothers married sisters. Brothers from a separate family
The McCarty
married
brothers
sisters. Yes, from another
married
family.
the
So like it
McCann
wasn't.
sisters.
So it's not this whole incest thing where brothers actually married sisters from the same family. It's two families, which this used to be very common, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, like because there wasn't, especially like royalty and shit, right? Like that you would just marry, like you had
Well,
siblings and they would marry into another family. That's,
royalty, on the other hand, is very they cross those lines in royalty.
Yes,
well, yeah, true. We're
we
not
did.
blue bloods.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah,
how
it
you.
does. I like to play with it though. That's why I'm like, brother, she's a cousin sister.
Cousin sister. You can't
Oh my
tell.
gosh.
Because genetically we are essentially we are brother sister.
I was thinking that it would be really interesting to do, the, ancestry DNA testing
Yeah.
and see what my DNA says with you and what my DNA
Right.
says with Bowden and see how
Yep.
it is. Because sometimes, even with siblings, one sibling will show more of one ethnicity than another, which
So
is interesting.
genetically, I read a book on genetics a while back, and so siblings are actually more alike genetically than they are to their parents. And the
Yeah,
reason why is because because you think 50-50,
yeah.
right? You get
Hmm.
50% of your chromosomes from the mother, 50% from the father.
Yep.
Okay. But of that, there's recessive genes. Okay. So what you end up expressing is something like 25% of your mother and 25% of your father
Hmm.
to make
Yeah.
50%. But in the case of
Okay.
siblings, right, you're actually more genetically alike because you can be expressing more genes, right?
Hmm.
And that's as far as I can go to with explaining the genetics behind it. The
So when it,
takeaway is that siblings are more alike to each other genetically than they are to their parents.
oh yeah,
So we could be more alike each other than we are to our parents
yeah.
because we could potentially be expressing more genes in common with each other.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
since I'm not a scientist and I went to college and dropped out like 4 times, I can't go any further. And I'm Gemini rising too, so I can only
Yeah.
explain so far.
Well, by tomorrow, if you actually started now, you could probably teach a class on it with
Oh,
that
oh
Gemini.
yeah.
You're like,
Oh
hold on,
yeah.
I'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah.
I would just have to reread the book. It's on
Yeah,
the Kindle.
yeah, which would be pretty quick. Which is so funny because the timing of Angela and you connecting recently was when Mercury was retrograde, right? And it was in your third house of siblings and cousins. And in
Yeah.
astrology, the third house is siblings, cousins, and extended family, aunts, uncles. So you guys got back in touch during the Mercury retrograde, or you've been in touch over the
Yeah.
years, but
Yeah.
you had a reconnection, started talking
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
astrology maybe.
Yeah.
How was that? What was that like?
Yeah, I think you reached out to me to find some information about another person, and I was like, I could try. And I haven't
Oh
talked to them
yeah.
in a little while. So, I was like, yeah, I don't know about that, but let's talk about me. How about you do
Yeah,
my
and then
chart?
this last time though, you reached out to me
Hmm.
cuz about astrology cuz you were like,
Yeah.
"Hey, have you done my chart yet?"
Yeah,
This
because
Mm.
this
I was
last time that
so
we
curious, so curious. I've had
and
a
that
lot
was this
of
last Mercury
yeah,
retrograde.
I've had a lot. I've had a very, very chaotic life in the last 5 years. And I'm just curious, like, what is going on, And I've heard that there are times where, and let me know if I'm wrong here, but when it comes to life and not taking the signs to do what you should be doing, the
Mhm.
universe will do it for you. And when the
Mm,
universe does it for you, it's like a rug ripped out for like right underneath you, you know? And so
mhm.
um I feel like things like that have happened. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. It makes me wonder, you know?
Right.
Um, I'm
Mhm.
also very curious if you can find out what my chart was saying on February 8th of 2021.
Mm. Okay. All
Because
right.
that
Yeah.
was a very, very big day in my life that my
Yeah.
life changed. From that
Right.
day, it changed. So I'm
Mm.
curious. I'm
Yeah.
curious.
I
Yeah.
should have got. I'm gonna be a horrible podcaster host, and I'm gonna go run and get my ephemeris real quick.
Oh yeah. Cool. No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can, and the software that I have, we can basically flip the clock back to
Yeah.
that exact date and take a look at it,
Uh-huh.
and kind of try to zone in and maybe get a better context
Yeah.
for what was happening astrologically.
I got the exact time and the exact
Mhm.
day. So it'd be
Okay.
interesting for you guys to pull a chart and for me to see what it says and see if it aligns to what I know happened. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because
Yes. Yeah.
I believe that astrology tells so much, and I've seen it like within history. People talking about, oh, it's the year of the Aquarius. There was like a lot of more of like revolutionary things happening, the revolution of people and stuff like that. And then other years, don't know all of them, but where in other years it's more like wars are happening, and that's a
Mm.
very conflicting time that the astrology and the way the planets aligned or whatnot are showing that that's what's going to happen, right? So,
Right.
and I find that
Mhm.
fascinating. I think it'd be fun for you guys to go in, do some kind of like time period things and talk about
Mhm.
some of major historical events that may have happened during this point in time and see how it
Mhm.
aligns with astrology. And I think it'd be cool for people that are listening to really kind of catch on to that too, you know?
Yeah, yeah, awesome. I love that. And kind of what you're referring to there is mundane astrology, right?
Yeah.
And Cosmos and Psyche, which is a book I'm sure Aaron may or may not have mentioned yet, depending
Mhm.
on how much y'all have
I
talked
think so.
about that. But if that's an area of interest, that's a really cool, it tracks the cycles of what the outer planets are doing
Uh-huh.
and how those characteristics of that energy can show up and has shown up throughout history. And so we can use that information, like you're saying, to almost get a sense and understand what might be coming
Yeah.
with on a collective level. But I want to say I think it's really fascinating that you, because first of all, just looking at your chart, and Erin, I don't know if you have a preference about putting her chart up. If you can at some point, like when you edit, put her chart up. I can look at her chart and we don't have to pull it up. If you want to keep us all kind of visually, I can still see her chart.
If we're gonna
But
be talking about her chart, like,
uh-huh,
specifically, then I'd say just
share it.
you can share your screen and put it up. As long as we're
Yeah.
talking about it,
And
then
I'll try to remember to pull it down. If
I'll
we're
just tell
not,
you if
just
we're
yeah,
like,
I was gonna
yeah.
say, just tell me and I will pop it off. So
Because 'Cause I'm looking at the ephemeris trying to see, okay, you said February what of 2021, Angela?
February 8th of 2021.
Okay, so specific date like that, right? That's gonna be something triggering probably an outer planet complex, I would guess. But I'm looking and I can't really. I can tell you the last 5 years, Pluto's the story for you.
mhm. Yeah.
Pluto.
Yeah. Can you see the chart right now?
I
Y'all can
can.
both see it.
I
Yeah.
can.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah. And I can flip it back to Aaron, but before we go there, if guys are okay with this, I just want to mention a couple things in looking at your chart and orienting you to your chart. And I'm guessing, like you have this intrinsic interest in astrology, and I don't know how new that is, but I would say it's really fascinating that Uranus ingressed into Gemini on July the 12th and into your ninth house, which
Uh-huh.
is the house of spirituality, divination, astrology, a lot of higher conceptual understandings of knowledge. And so Uranus is the revolutionary energy that
Yeah.
wakes up and brings awakening and kind of electrifying insight into it's like a new chapter has opened up in your life. And the place that that's happening is in your ninth house.
So
Wow.
I think we need to
Okay.
orient her
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah.
because I
Mhm.
imagine she's looking at all this and probably has no idea what she's looking at.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, let's do
Angela,
that.
do you
Yeah.
see how there's 2 rings, Angela?
2,
Those
ring yeah,
symbols
yeah,
that are
yeah. Mhm.
all on the outside, and then there's another one on the inside?
Yeah.
So the planet, all those symbols on the inside, that's showing your natal planets. So that's your nativity or your horoscope, right? So that
Okay.
the inner wheel there is showing where all those things were the moment you were born. And then the outer ring is showing now where all those planets are right now. And so
Okay.
we look at those are called transits, is what that's called. That's where those planets are actually now in the
Interesting.
heavens. And so we look at the relationship between the transiting planets and the relationship they make geometrically to your natal planets. So
Mhm.
a square, for instance, is 90 degrees of separation, right? And
Okay.
so when they're 90 degrees, it's called a square. That's an aspect. Okay. And
Okay.
that means a lot in astrology. Aspects are how we relate the planets to each other. It's like how they communicate, whether they're
Yeah.
harmonious, whether there or friction between, in the case of a square, that's like friction. It's a lot of
Uh-huh.
friction between them. Okay. So the transiting planets make relations to the natal planets, natal being horoscopic, or, the nativity is what you call a horoscope,
Right.
where your planets are at birth. So anyway, that's what you're looking at. The outer circle there is where the planets are right now, and the
Uh-huh.
inner circle is where they were when you were born.
Oh, okay.
Right.
That's
And
a
we can
big
what's that?
cluster, in the ninth house. There's a lot going on there when I was born.
Absolutely. Yeah, which is so cool because as you mentioned earlier, you've always been interested in spirituality. This was before we started recording
Mhm.
that you in some ways have that Aaron as your older cousin brother has been kind of a role model for you in certain ways, or at least that there's been you've sort of looked up to him, I think was how you put it,
Yeah.
in a sense with his spirituality or his practice. And there's some interesting synastry between your chart with him, but that in astrology, the houses determine the areas of life that were likely to express certain energies.
Uh-huh.
So when you were born, a lot of energy was happening in the sign of Gemini, right? You are a Gemini.
Mhm.
And actually your sun in Gemini, this little circle with the dot,
Yeah.
that is also in the ninth house. It's just that there wasn't enough room because you have such a packed ninth house of which governs spirituality and higher consciousness. And so
Yeah.
Venus is there, the goddess of love and relationship and also finances. You
You're
have
pointing
the
at the outer ring right now, Susan, with
oh, that's weird because on mine it shows the inner, but that's oh, I see, I see. There's
where
a
your
lag.
cursor. There you go.
Is that
Now
better? Okay.
yes. So those are your
Yeah,
natal planets, Angela.
Yeah.
yeah. There you go. Ninth house. Yeah.
So you can
That's
see the sun right there is in Gemini.
is that
Sun in
common
Go
to
ahead.
Gemini.
have so much in, like, one area like that?
hmm
And my
Okay.
birthday's June 9th, so it's weird it's in the ninth house. Is that how it
Yeah.
works? Like, is that just
Well,
numbers working
No,
or
that's not normally how it works. That's a coincidence, but there is a
okay.
lot to the numerology.
Okay.
and also the houses. I noticed an interesting thing, Susan, about her
hmm
chart when I was looking at this. Because so Angela, there are multiple house systems.
Mhm.
Okay, so that
Mhm.
will change where all these house. See the pie slices.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
Susan, could you just put her natal chart up,
Yeah, let's do that. That sounds good.
and
All right.
we can just talk
Start
about her
there.
natal chart, and
Yeah.
then maybe go into the question of February 9th, 2021.
Yeah.
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 As a central point, because like she's curious about that, but like there's a lot to talk. I mean,
Yeah.
well,
Well, yeah,
this
we
is
can
what we do,
certainly
Angela. We talk
I
about astrology,
I got I
and
got I got all
it's
day. I don't have anywhere to go. So
it's
nice.
never ending.
Yeah,
But
that's right.
what I was getting at is that housing, there's like I don't even know how many. There's like 100 house systems or something ridiculous. So if you look at the pie slices there, right? You see that?
yes.
Those are the houses, and you see the numbers on the inside there where it says
That's
one,
the
2, 3
yeah,
around.
number of the
Those are
house,
the
right?
houses. Yeah. Those borders are they're called cusps, those
Mhm.
lines,
Mhm.
right? Those move and change based on what house system you're using.
Okay.
Okay. This is whole sign house,
Uh-huh.
right? Which is what Susan uses professionally when she
Okay.
consults now. All right.
Mhm.
It wasn't always what she used. Placidus is a whole nother type of system, and that's what she used before that. I prefer equal house.
Okay.
So, which Susan, can you point at the ascendant for her?
Yep. Right
So
here,
do you see
AS
that, Angela?
in the first house.
Do you
Yes.
see where her cursor is?
Ascendant, yes.
Yeah, that's the ascendant. Okay, so that was the eastern, that corresponds to the eastern horizon.
Mm.
So at the moment you were born, if you were to have looked to the east,
Mhm.
that would have been the sign that was rising, right?
Oh, okay.
Libra.
I was gonna say that's
Okay.
Libra, isn't it? Yeah. Interesting.
That would have been the sign that was rising. Now, that's not the constellation now. It used to be 2000 plus years ago, the sign and constellations were the same. They're not the
Mm.
same now because of precession of the equinoxes. And we won't get into all that because it's real confusing right now. But the point I'm trying to
Mhm.
make is that side of the chart, right? So the left side of the chart where the ascendant is, that's east.
Mhm.
Okay. So the ascendant would be in the system that I prefer, equal house. The first house cusp is going to be marked by the ascendant degree. So in equal house, your first house is going to start at 17 degrees of Libra. Okay. So
Mhm.
what that does is what I wanted to point out to Susan, because this is something we've talked a lot about in my chart. If you look at her ninth house, if you move that into equal sign, all of that's in her eighth house.
Except for the sun, right?
Yeah, right. Which is like her sun
Mhm.
is what degree?
18,
Right, but
37.
it's gonna
Yeah.
be conjunct, it's almost
Oh,
conjunct the
yeah.
cusp. It's like
It's
1
very
degree into the ninth.
well, that's the saving grace of all that eighth house is that ninth house sun, right? If you were to look at it in equal sign, you have this transformative, the eighth house being crisis, transformation, deep psychology, profound change. It deals with shared resources, but it's much more intense. And also, you have that signature with eighth between the eighth and the ninth in
That's
your
right.
equal sign
My
and whole
Mhm.
sign houses,
my
brother, cousin.
but
Yeah.
my sun Mercury, I have a sun Mercury conjunction, right, in Aquarius.
Mhm.
Okay, in equal house, they're in the eighth house, right? But in whole sign, Placidus, and the other systems, they're in the ninth house. And there's a big
Right.
difference between what that means, right? And this
And
is a
yet, oh, sorry, you
Yeah,
were going to
this is
say
just a point that I've been like batting around since I got into astrology, trying to figure out what's true. And I
yeah.
just think it's interesting that you have the same shift. And so it makes me think that it's like ancestral in a way.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
It's
probably.
Yeah.
inherited. And
Yeah.
there is a whole school of astrology that deals with is it
It's
ancestral astrology or
well, I've always just kind of heard it referred to as like family astrology, but
okay.
ancestral would be accurate. I mean, it's yeah, because there are patterns and imprints of karma and dharma and unhealed, wounds that
Mhm.
tribally, when families move through certain incarnations together,
Yeah.
that they're working on maybe similar types of healing or themes in how they are going to achieve it, what they came for, or their dharmic, kind of purpose or
There
reason for
and those
healing.
and those souls, those family souls, right, are there in your life for that reason, to help you and guide you through what your soul needs to eventually learn to
Yeah.
further the soul experience, right? Because like,
Yeah.
what I've understood and what I've kind of believed is that, like, our souls, every time that we are here on earth, we are learning something new that our soul needs to learn before we can ascend to a higher place, like
Mhm.
it's a school for us here. And we are learning through each other what our soul needs to know. And it's like, yeah, I even feel that way with my husband. I feel like there are very, very big reasons why we are so connected. And I feel like it is like soul connection there, that we are in each
That'll be
other's
in the
lives for
chart
a
too.
reason. Yeah, I hope
That's called
so.
synastry.
Yeah,
If you
Mhm.
were to look at his chart and your chart, and
yeah,
there's techniques that we do that's called synastry.
Yeah, which is
interesting.
cool. It's
So I
really
want to
cool.
point one more thing out
Mm.
about this
Mhm.
since we're on the family thing, because I thought this was amazing when I saw it. So you're a Libra rising and you have a
Uh-huh.
Libra moon, right?
Hmm.
So does Aiden, my son, my
Uh-huh.
first son. He's also a Gemini sun, and he also has a Libra rising and a Libra first house moon. That's called the primal triad. Those are the three most important points on the chart: sun, moon, ascendant. And you and Aiden are exactly the same in that, which is
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting with ascendant, and you may have already explored some like your rising sign. What Libra rising means, what the moon in Libra means. Am I correct in that? Have you explored that at
I
all?
didn't know. I didn't
Okay.
know what any of my astrology chart said, so I never knew what my rising was, I never knew what the sunrise. I didn't
What?
know any of
That's
that.
cool.
So
Yeah.
and
Wow.
for
Yeah.
me, I don't quite understand what it means,
Yeah. Yeah.
in terminology of, like, this is what it means, this is how you are, and this is why you are the way you are,
Well,
with
let's
looking at astrology.
if you're good with doing sort of a quick and dirty breakdown of
Yeah,
your big 3, then we
yeah.
might be able to just explain a little bit of that, because I think it's awesome. This is such a great example of someone coming on and talking to you as you're starting this, what I think very likely is going to be a journey of
Mhm,
awakening
I feel like it is.
via astrology, because of Uranus, right?
mm,
Moving into that ninth house,
mhm,
waking up, bringing awakening energy, which it will cross over all of these ninth house planets that signify, what your spiritual energy and purpose might be connected to in this life. And so, especially with
cool.
the North Node, which has a lot to do with, like, well, there's a lot,
Karma.
yeah, and Dharma, like
Yeah, let's
what
talk
you're
about
trying, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, what you're trying to fulfill. Hmm.
so I did a reading, a tarot, my tarot reading this morning, just on this discussion we're gonna have. I was just
Hmm.
basically, it was just like, give me
What's that?
inspiration, give me direction, whatever, right? Just about
Uh-huh.
what today is going to be about. And the
Yeah.
heart was justice,
Oh, mhm.
which is the major arcana card, Angela, for Libra, essentially.
Huh,
It's
Yeah.
Athena, but and I can show you, I have to share my screen window. There we go. Okay.
And
Boom.
should I tell her what the ascendant
Share.
and the moon are quickly first, or you can wrap it in, you can
Do
tie it
you
in
see
with
that?
justice? Uh-huh. Yeah, I can see it.
So that's the reading
Uh-huh.
that I did this morning, but let me move it to the card. There you go, Angela. Can you see that?
yeah,
So
Love
that's
that.
the justice card. Do you see the scales there?
yeah, yeah,
All right. This is a major arcana, right? So because so the actual Libra card is going to be, oh, I'm blanking now. Cuz it's
Mm.
cardinal is king, so that's going to be the king. Yeah, so that's Odysseus. So that's going to be the king of swords, would be the cardinal actual Libra, the actual symbol in this deck for Libra.
mm,
but this is like a higher like version, because this is Athena holding the scales. So this is the Libra card from the major arcana. So, which is a whole nother thing. I don't want to derail us and go into tarot, because we're supposed to be talking about astrology, but
hey,
I just thought it
we
was
could talk about
interesting
tarot,
that this is the card that I pulled this morning. Well, this
and
was
I
the
have
heart.
right,
So, so,
yeah,
so if you go back to the full, so there's the actual reading, right? You see
mhm,
Athena there, justice in the center. And this
mhm,
reading was like, also Capricorn's big. That's at the top. See the king of pentacles, and then
mhm,
also the king of wands is Theseus. That's Aries. So Aries and
mm,
Capricorn popped up,
mm.
as did Neptune, which is down there to the left, the Ace of Pentacles. That's Poseidon, and then Athena in the center there. So I'll stop sharing the screen now. Um,
So what does that tell you?
that reading
Yeah,
this
overall.
morning.
Yeah,
A lot. It's like, oh man, it tells me. Well, it tells me that Libra is
mhm,
and Athena are connecting you to this
mhm,
project. With also,
okay,
though, I don't know that I'll even. So the last time I told you, well, last time we saw each other in person, I was still in the place of druidry. I was a
druid, yeah,
practicing
mhm,
druid, right?
mhm,
In
yeah,
the middle of being a druid. Okay, well, that's changed. Now I consider myself, because this was 10 years ago. The last time we
yeah,
saw each other was like 2014 in
yeah,
person. Like
yeah,
we drove. I drove. Harper was a baby. We drove to
uh-huh.
Arizona.
There's a funny
And
story with this too.
yeah,
Let me just say, okay, so me and Aaron, we're up late. We're just hanging out. We're up late. We're doing our cousin thing, right? And he brings out his bamboo like
Ogum,
ruins,
the
agams
Ogham,
or whatever.
Ogum. Yep.
And they're in a bag. And he's like, yeah, watch this. And he just like dumps them out on my hardwood floors. And it's like I don't know what it is, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. It makes this loud noise. And Wendy is asleep with the babies, right? They're
Mm.
babies, they're little, and she comes out like, "What are you guys doing?" Like, "You're gonna wake up these kids." And back then, I didn't have kids, so I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know." Like, and
I don't even
Aaron's like,
remember that.
I think I got in trouble."
I would have been drunk. I was drunk
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stoned
we
probably,
we were
so
we were drinking, yeah, it was, doing a typical cousin thing and get us together, I mean, in trouble.
Part of the
That's
so
funny.
McCartyism.
well, there's a lot
Yeah.
of alcohol runs
Mhm.
deep in McCarty.
Oh,
Mhm.
You know,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
ancestral for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm,
So anyway, I'll wrap up what I was saying. So I am now I consider myself to be a Hellenic pagan, which means I basically observe the Olympian pantheon of gods. I have a relationship with the gods of Olympus.
mhm,
Beyond that too, just the Hellenistic mythological archetypal is another way of me and Susan mostly focus on what's called archetypal astrology, and
mhm,
it focuses heavily on because of the work of James Hillman, who was a polytheist and focused a lot on the Greek deities. So my spiritual practice now is as a Hellenic pagan, I am actively cultivating relation with the Greek gods and
mhm.
mostly goddesses actually. So, and
Yeah,
Athena was like the first one for me that I came into relation with. So
Yeah.
justice popping up. And further, this card, as I was shuffling this morning,
mhm.
sometimes when you're shuffling, right, cards will just pop out at you.
Yeah,
And
that means you need
but I'm always like, I put it back in because I have a system because I got so much Virgo. So I'm like,
I
no. And I only want to look if it pops out because I don't mean for that to happen, right? So I'll like, try not to see it. Well, I happened to see it was justice this morning. It just popped out at me and I was like, fuck. And I
see,
stuck it back in and I kept shuffling and then boom, popped back out as the heart
s
of that
and
reading.
oh, I don't know much about tarot. I know a little bit about tarot. I never practiced it, but from what I understood is that when you're shuffling and something pops out like that,
Uh huh.
something that you need to see.
Well,
That's spirit,
tell
right?
tell
Telling
that to my
you.
Virgo stellium.
Well, and here we have justice as embodied by this Libra rising, Libra moon,
Exactly.
Angela, who has arrived on the scene now. And that justice card is, I think it's a great image in that kind of Hillman style, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because it's funny. The image of her actually looks a little bit like you, but her
I
hair
was gonna
is
say that, yeah.
blonde. Yeah. And yet when you have Libra rising, which you can kind of explore that now that you have those key words and what that means, but your rising
Mhm,
sign, like he mentioned, it has a mathematical, you know, where was the constellation on the horizon at the time you were born, but then there are physical characteristics because the rising sign has a lot to do with the physical body and the persona or the vehicle that the rest of the different components or aspects of your personality are sort of
mhm,
filtered through. So it's the way that the world sees you or the way you present yourself. And you also have the moon in Libra there. And the moon is, and you can chime in too, Aaron, with this if it's the just to kind of give some keywords of what the moon is, which it goes pretty deep, but it has a lot to do with your emotional nature, how you connect, what your early family life was like, what your mother, characteristics of your mother, or how you connect on a more intuitive emotional level, not necessarily just with women, but maybe what
mm,
pattern was, modeled for you. And so to
mhm,
have that in Libra on your ascendant or on this point of really high visibility, it characterizes and tones the way that you present yourself to the world. And so it gives you kind of a lunar quality or it gives you this reflective quality, which the moon is so good at doing, which is being able to reflect people back to themselves and also to be empathetic and nurturing and caring. But because it's in the sign of Libra, it has air and elementally, Libra is an air sign
Hmm.
and it's a masculine sign and it tends to, because it's air, be very rational, very logical. And
mhm.
so, yeah, I think it starts to give a picture of who you are, even though
Yeah,
you're multi-dimensional and multifaceted.
yeah,
You come across as this kind of Athenian figure, maybe to others, whether they're thinking, oh, that she reminds me of Athena or not. It may not be
Right.
that overt, but yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you know anything
That's
about
cool.
Athena, Angela?
You know what? I Not really, not too much.
So,
I've
I can just
Go
give you the
ahead.
quick
Yeah, go
sorta
ahead.
the what is known most about her and her myth is that
Yeah, and it'd be
she
helpful for listeners too.
okay,
Mhm.
so, Zeus, right, the king of the gods,
Mhm,
alright, had, an affair with, Athena's mother, Metis. Metis was the goddess of wisdom. Okay.
mm,
So Uranus, so this would be Zeus's grandfather, the original sky god in the Greek pantheon, right? Who
right.
mated with Earth, like the first version of it. He was the original like creator god of so this is Zeus's grandfather. Told Zeus, hey, if you have a child with Metis, she's going to become greater than you and usurp you and take you over. And that's kind of a linear, like a family thing in Greek myth, right? Because that happened with
Mm,
Uranus because it's Kronos or Saturn, and then it happened again with Zeus because Kronos or Saturn was Zeus's um, father. He overtook him. So that happens. You see that a lot in Greek myth. So Zeus is like, oh, I can't have this. So he takes and swallows Metis whole, and she's pregnant with Athena at the time. Okay. So then some time goes by, and then Zeus develops this horrible headache. So Hephaestus, who is the Olympian god of like, he's the craftsman, right? He's the
mhm,
Olympian craftsman, basically. Think Daedalus, but as a god. So he
mhm.
splits Zeus's head open with a double bladed axe, right? And out pops Athena, fully grown in full battle armor, right?
So, why does he do that?
Why does Hephaestus split Zeus's head open?
Yeah.
To let Athena out because she's got this horrible headache. So it's like it's mythic. So it's
Oh,
mythical, right? So like
yeah.
these are gods. So like, but
Okay.
but Hephaestus splits his head open with an axe, and Athena pops out in full battle dress because Athena is a warrior, but she's not like Ares, the war god, because he's like brute, bloodthirsty, just rampaging, killing, just about like berserker, right? Whereas
Mhm.
Athena is more strategic, right?
Right. Mhm,
She's more like thoughtful and tactical, and
mhm.
her mother's the goddess of wisdom, so Athena inherits that as the symbol. So she's considered the goddess of wisdom now, right? But her mother Metis was originally she was the original goddess of wisdom. So that's sort of quick, and that's Athena. There's a lot more to
Cool.
be said about Athena, but that's like the big myth of Athena.
And I
Yeah.
think the point you're making is great because Libra is the opposite sign of Aries, the sign Aries. And Aries is fire, masculine also, but it's ruled by Mars, which has to do with bloody battle, war that is really violent. Whereas Libra is ruled by Venus. One of the two signs that are ruled by Venus. So Venus energy or Libra energy is concerned with relationships and how to form alliances and make connections for building networks and for the better. I mean, law is one of the places that Libra energy expresses really well, but because of the rational ability. So it's like Venus, it's relationship centered, but as you mentioned before, Athena was also a warrior, and I think that ties in interestingly with that Mars in Scorpio in your chart, which we haven't touched on or talked about, and I don't want to like jump too fast or far
Scorpio.
around, but you have some really powerful
Yeah.
energy that is able to execute and um, perform the function of the what you believe in. What are your ideals? What are your values? What do Libra energy is very much, and Venus energy is about what we value. So it's like the harmonious appearance and the diplomatic way of carrying yourself and relating to others and also emoting with
Yeah.
others. It's a really beautiful kind of tool to get what you need to get accomplished. It's like you came in with a really nice um, you know, uh, like vehicle, right? Like you would be kind
Yeah.
of your Mercedes, you know.
She's trying to say you're beautiful, Angela. That's what she's
Yeah,
trying to
well,
say.
that certainly you are. You absolutely are. But, because Libra is beauty, Venus is beauty. So to have that, and also when people are around you, because you also have the moon there, this is also an internal beauty, or that you have a way of relating that helps other people feel seen, heard, like, beautiful themselves, whether it's that
Yeah.
you're recognizing an attribute that is more internal or external, but that you kind of reflect people's own values back to them in a way. So I don't know, does that sound like
But
her?
there's Pluto.
Yeah. Yeah,
The
Pluto's there.
Pluto.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. See, I'm Pollyanna again. So yeah, maybe you can pick it up with
What
Pluto.
is Pluto? Okay, so tell me
So,
about why does Pluto have to come in and just like wreck things up?
okay, so
I'm going to share real quick her chart
yeah.
again, just so people can see what we're talking about. All right.
Um, Do you see? So can you hover over Pluto, the Pluto glyph?
Yeah, here we go.
Do you see that, Angela?
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
Pluto at 29 degrees of Libra,
So here's the moon and then Pluto with it.
which is well, one, it's almost in Scorpio. And in the modern astrology, Pluto's considered the ruler of Scorpio. Okay? In modern astrology. Because before the ancients, right, before telescopes, there were only 7 planets, really 5. But in astrology, the sun and the moon are considered planets, although
Right.
they're not planets, right? The sun's a
right.
star and the moon is a moon, but we call them planets in
Right.
astrology. So
Yeah.
the ancients, right, before telescopes, there was just all they could see. All you can see with the naked eye is Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. So there's only 5 planets that you can see. Okay. So before the modern planets, which the first one was Uranus, and that was discovered in 1778, right? So before 1778, there were only 5 planets. Okay. And so outside of the sun and the moon, all the other planets, they rule 2 signs. Okay. So before Pluto, Mars ruled Scorpio and Aries. Okay. Once Pluto was discovered, though, Pluto was given by modern astrology, Pluto was given rulership of Scorpio. Okay. Your Pluto is days. What is the minutes on that, Susan? Because I can't read that.
33.
What's your
Yeah.
33? So you're
29
29.
33.
Yeah, 29 degrees, 33 minutes.
Okay.
So that means that Pluto, I'd have to get my other. So let me look, and I can tell you this is an ephemeris, Angela. So it's just a bunch of numbers that tells you where all the planets are. Okay. So 1984, and we're going to go to June, right? What's your birthday?
Yeah.
June what? 9th?
June 9th. 9th, yeah.
Of 84. So if I go to
Yeah.
May, June of 80. Okay, so Pluto ingressed. Let's see, because sometimes it'll retrograde. Yeah, so Pluto ingressed into Scorpio on the 28th of August, 1984. Now, Pluto takes, let me see, it's 284 year orbit, I believe. So for Pluto to go through all the signs, it takes like 200 and I think 200 might not be 68, 200. It's almost 300 years. Okay. For Pluto to go around all the signs one time. So on average, it's in a sign like it's going to be in Aquarius for like 20 years.
Right.
Some signs like Scorpio, it's only in for 8, but that's a whole nother, on average, it's like 20 years per sign. Okay.
So my Pluto is in the cusp of being in Scorpio by days.
Yeah. It was in August of 1984. August 28th, 1984 is when Pluto ingressed into Scorpio. Okay. So the point I'm making is that Pluto, and I haven't even started talking about the moon conjunct yet. It's conjunct your moon, which is like huge, right? That's a huge conjunction because the moon is one of the primal triads. So it's sun, ascendant, moon. So not only is it conjunct your moon under 10 degrees, what are they, 6 degrees apart, Susan?
Yeah.
Is it 23, 29?
Yep.
23, 29.
Yeah, so 6 degrees. So they're called, we observe it's called orbs. So with your moon, because it's called a light, the sun moon, ascendant. Essentially, the ascendant's not a light, but they're given the widest orb because they're so important. And an orb means that how close something is before it has an effect. And so with the moon and the sun and the ascendant, 10 degrees to either side is considered an orb. Okay. So if Pluto was 10 degrees away from your moon, then it would be considered a conjunction, right? But your
Mm-hmm.
Pluto's, it's only 6 degrees. So it's pretty close,
Pretty,
right?
yeah.
And so that means basically what this means is, and I need to let Susan take over because I get so technical and lose people. But what this means is that you can't even talk about your moon without talking about Pluto, because it means your moon Pluto are a pair, and
Right.
those two come together and are always together in your life. So your moon is not just your moon is also Pluto. You have a Pluto moon, basically.
Mhm.
And it's in the sign of your ascendant. So
Mm-hmm.
anytime you see multiple things connecting in astrology like that, you're getting multiple signals. In this case, you're getting Pluto conjunct your moon, conjunct your ascendant in your first house,
Big,
almost in Scorpio. Like,
right.
it's a powerful, powerful point.
Big Hades vibes. Big,
And
big Hades vibes.
Persephone,
And
goddess
Persephone.
of the underworld. Yeah.
Yeah. And the intensity that it adds, the layer of potential crisis, transformation, and emotional intensity with the moon, issues or questions of survival or security that were rooted very deeply into the past and that deal with a need to, this is an ultimate kind of a penultimate expression of changing family patterns,
Oh yeah.
undergoing tremendous upheaval and even crisis that could have led to a deep desire to change that emotional landscape from the
Mm-hmm.
inside out, that were a part of the family, the line that came through the mother. I would associate this more with the mother's side.
My mom has a Pluto moon.
Does she?
Hmm. In
And so,
Virgo.
and that's both of your grandmothers, right? I mean,
That would
wait.
be the maternal. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Wait, you're
I'm gonna run and go
her
get my
aunt.
ephemeris real quick.
Okay.
Sorry, not the ephemeris. My notebook where my mom's chart is. Sorry, I
Yeah.
gotta run again. I'll be right back.
Okay. So yeah, so I think like, even this layer of understanding that beyond just somebody who has very socially graceful mannerisms and kind of an attractive appearance and an ability to relate well and an ability to listen well, you
Right.
now have this layer of Pluto, which has to do with just the natural psychologist, that you're not just understanding on a
Right.
superficial level some of
I
what
like
you're seeing.
get it. I get
Yeah,
it to a
you feel
core.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah.
and because this theme is now emergent in your chart, I went ahead and jumped ahead and looked, because I know, I don't, I did look at the date, and,
Mhm.
themes of major crisis and transformation were happening around the 9th of February of 20, it was the 9th of February, 2021. Is that,
It
am
was
I
February 8th,
February
2021 at
8th? Okay.
4:45 a.m. Yeah.
4:45 a.m. Okay, February 8th, 4:45. Um, so, and I'll pull that chart up here in a minute, and we'll wait for him to come back if that's good. But
Yeah.
you have once something that I mentioned earlier, which is you have your sun in Gemini, and you probably are most familiar with that as far as
Yeah. Yeah.
astrology goes.
Yeah.
And because you have air, you have a lot of air in your chart. Elementally, this is going to make you much more rational, and in a sense that you want to understand intellectually whatever it is, whatever system or belief, system of belief, you want
Yeah.
to understand it from the inside out. You mentioned that you were
Yeah.
curious a few times when we first started talking, and it made me laugh kind of internally, because it's like as Uranus is moving into this ninth house, it's your planet of communication, which is Mercury. You
Uh-huh.
have what they call a dignified Mercury, meaning that your communication style is at home in the sign of Gemini. Gemini naturally is ruled by Mercury, and so your ability to write or speak is quite developed, or quite, you're very
Yeah.
capable, whether you've developed it or
Yeah.
not. But you also have Chiron there, And Chiron is the wounded healer, which, we have this Chiron's
Exactly,
cave.
yeah.
So there's a lot more to that. But, symbolically, there could have been something related to your voice, your ability to communicate your truth, using your voice to the full extent that you're capable and meant to use it. There could be a wound, or there could be some kind of healing that needs to happen around that before. And you're really on the cusp of doing that, with Uranus about to
I
go
am.
across your Mercury and your Chiron. So there's a major healing period that could feel jarring or even unsettling in some ways, because you're
Yeah.
about to really take your voice back from so that you can fulfill what you're supposed to fulfill with that North Node in Gemini. Okay, so I was just kind of
It makes
orienting her a
sense.
little more to the chart,
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so my mom has, I was right. She has Pluto at 1.8 degrees, so almost 2 degrees of Virgo, and her medium Chali is 1 degree. So my mom's Pluto is conjunct her midheaven, and her moon is just 3.5 degrees of Virgo. So my
wow.
mom has a moon Pluto just like you, Angela, but
Mhm.
it's at her midheaven. Okay, whereas yours is at the ascendant, but still, that is a very
Right.
strong signal of family
Mhm.
like karma
Yeah,
from the
and
maternal side.
I would suspect that if
Interesting.
you started pulling charts, like if you pulled Angela's mom,
Oh, I've
and
been wanting to, yeah.
yeah, like it would be fun to trace the women in your family
Yeah.
on that side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I also have the moon conjunct my ascendant and with Uranus. So and Wendy have moon on her ascendant too,
Yep.
Aaron? Yeah.
Uh,
She's Aquarius. Wendy has Aquarius rising with an Aquarian moon,
Mhm.
mhm.
and her
Yeah.
moon is just on the 12th house side.
Yeah. So it's interesting, yeah, the themes that start to be repeated in families, and Pluto especially is like, that's, I don't know what you've done for a living or what your kind of your history is, but I would say that, are you drawn to the type of deep like mysteries of either like criminology or mystery of some kind? Are you drawn
Uh-huh.
to that kind of
Yeah.
thing, like
Very,
political law?
very,
Uh-huh.
She
very
draws
drawn to
blood for
that.
a living now.
That's perfect. Yes.
Are you
You
still
can.
doing that, Angela?
Oh, I'm in transition.
Uh-huh.
It
Mm,
doesn't pay enough. It just
yeah.
doesn't pay enough.
Yeah.
And financially, right now, things are real difficult. Jonathan's not working, so I'm in transition to do something to where I can make more money. But if I could, I would be. I loved
So,
doing that,
no,
but I want to write.
Mhm.
well, that's
I
Yeah.
definitely,
really
this
want to
chart
write a
definitely
book.
supports that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I mean, you have South Node in the 3rd house
Mm.
with Uranus.
Mhm.
So that's a pretty good signal. And then across from that, in the 9th house, you have
Mhm.
Gemini, Mercury, Venus, right? And then of
Have
course
Mhm.
North Node, Chiron. So it's like that the third, and tell me what you think, Susan. But the third
mhm.
ninth house axis is kind of like the writing axis,
Oh,
right?
definitely. Yeah, and that
Yeah.
dignified Mercury, it's like you very effective with your words. You're able to, you actually can, the more you write, that activates, I think, the chironic healing as well,
Yeah.
because
It
it's
does.
with Chiron, it's like you can heal. And are you already writing a lot, like just for yourself and
I
whatnot? Because I
do.
would recommend that.
I'm like maybe uh 90% done with writing a book. Um,
Wow.
it's something I started years ago.
Yeah,
Um,
Mhm.
which is something
years
we've always
ago.
had in common too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Writing.
it's like a post-apocalyptic, wild. We could talk about it some other time. But once that one's finished, I feel that like there's going to be a major healing process with me writing my second book that's completely different genre-wise.
Mhm.
Um, and I could see it being like you're talking about with Chiron, is how that writing that will heal. I think it
Mhm.
will do a lot of healing on a soul level for me. Um,
Mhm.
and it might help others too. So I don't know. We'll see. It's
Yeah.
kind of the
Does it
goal.
have something to do with the February of 2021?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you
Um,
see anything popping out with transits on that?
February, you said the
Well, I
8th.
can say what
Hold on.
the past
Yeah.
5 years in general, okay,
Mhm.
is Pluto is the story. right? Because you've been dealing with so Pluto has been squaring its natal position for you. Because Pluto is so slow,
Mhm.
it's like for right now, I have Pluto on my sun, and I have for the past year. It's been like it hit my sun like a year ago, but planets retrograde, so they move backwards. It's just an optical illusion, but planets will
Mhm.
move backwards, and the outer planets spend a lot more time moving backwards, so they'll move forward
Mhm.
and backwards a lot. And so a lot of times, like in my case with Pluto on my sun, it passed the sun, then it turned around and passed and hit it again, and now it's going to turn around and pass and hit it again after it's done. Like right now, though, like right now, Pluto's like right on my sun. The conjunction is like seconds, perfect. It's like perfectly.
Mhm.
And so you've been dealing the past 5 years for you. I would say, just from when I looked earlier, the big story is going to be that Pluto squaring Pluto. So your transiting Pluto has been squaring your natal Pluto, which also means it's been squaring your sun, or sorry, your moon, which for women, the moon is actually like the sun more. There's a
Yeah,
school of thought, whereas for women, the moon is more what you know about sun sign astrology, right? When you say I'm a Gemini,
right.
you're just saying where your sun was when you were born. Your moon, however, was in Libra. And for women, the moon is more, it's not that it's more important for women than it is for men, but it's just that women are more naturally lunar creatures
Are more
than men
aware
are.
of that
Well,
energy.
yeah.
They
I mean, we
Mhm.
have a connection to the moon. I mean, our
Exactly, just
bodies
physically.
physically.
Right.
Yeah.
So the point here, and then I'll pass it back to Susan, is that the moon, right, for a woman, the moon can be more like the sun actually is in sun sign astrology. So,
Mm.
which would mean you would start thinking about yourself more as a Libra, right? Which is
Mm.
an air sign too, though. So that's the
Mhm.
triplicities or the elements, right? Earth,
Mhm.
water, fire, air. And you have a lot, like me, I have a lot of air as well in my chart. You have a lot of air as well. By element, you have a very strong air signature, and that's mind. Again, Athena.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you say it was for what time in the morning?
It's been like 4:45, but
4:45.
4:55, like around, within that
Yeah.
4:45 to 5 a.m.
Right. Okay.
You want to put that
Um.
chart up, Susan?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'd like to
Let's
see it.
see.
This is
Yeah.
for the date and time in question here.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So I went ahead and put your chart on the inner wheel because I think it's important to see where in your
Mhm.
chart these aspects
Uh-huh.
were happening.
Uh-huh.
Um, and yeah. Um, so
What stands out to you guys?
Pluto for me. That's what I see. The square.
yeah.
Because how
Well,
I can't read the numbers though. How exact is that square right there, Susan?
with
With
what outer
Pluto,
Pluto? Where
with
is it?
Pluto squaring Pluto,
He's
transiting
here.
Pluto squaring natal Pluto.
25, and then natal Pluto is at 29,
20.
but
So it's applying. Yeah.
yeah,
So
but
it's
it actually already aspected the moon. I mean, it's at the midpoint between the moon, or not really exact midpoint, but it's between the moon by square. So Pluto is just coming off of a square to her moon at this time in February of 2021, and the moon rules, her 10th house of, that's an interesting, family. Was that a really difficult time family wise, and that's not really what's jumping out at me as far as that specific. I mean, that is important. It's like that was environmentally, emotionally, there was probably a lot of potential upheaval going on. Was
Yeah.
that was that
Mhm. You
okay?
want me to share?
Well,
Or
hold
do you
on a
guys want to
second for
read
that.
more?
yeah, we'll
Okay.
wait for a second. Yeah.
I like putting it through the pressure cooker some
Yeah.
with
Be
with seeing what.
mysterious a little while longer, Mars
Yeah,
and
see what
Scorpio.
I want to see what. Well, I want to see what Susan pulls out, because like she's been doing this like 20 plus years, right? So
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
this
no
part,
pressure. But
she's like,
yeah.
yeah, but I'm just saying you're
You've got
Yeah.
experience.
light
You got
years
the
beyond
knowledge,
me.
the
I mean,
So
wisdom.
what's really jumping out at me though, and I think it's interesting coming off of a really tumultuous time emotionally, is that you have Venus has just moved off of a conjunction to Saturn, the great malefic. Okay. So it's in
Mhm.
the fifth house of children, creativity. It could be about what the heart wants. It could be something that you were very passionate about, or it doesn't necessarily, it could be a child, it could be a lover, it could be a friend, but something that's very close to your heart.
Mhm.
And there is either, Venus has to do with love and relationship, but she's a benefic, meaning that she wants to relate and connect. And there's this difficult transit that she's coming off of on that morning where she's been exactly conjoined Saturn the last day or two. So there was something even in the last day or two, perhaps, that had unfolded around this time that was difficult, or maybe that you didn't see at the moment it happened, but influenced or impacted it. What really gets me is the square that Venus was also making a day or two before that to Uranus in your eighth house. So we have a Venus Uranus square that has just perfected. And again, this is like something was leading up to this that was very intense, very, I would say the moment of this is indicating something very recent around
Mars is in
trauma.
opposition too. Do you see that?
Uh,
How close is that?
opposition to her,
Mars.
yeah,
Transiting
to
Mars is opposing
Mars,
Mars.
right in the eighth. And so Mars is in his fall, meaning he's very weak, moving through the eighth house. He's just activated. And Mars has to do with violence, and eighth house is also about trauma and crisis, and it can be really trauma based. And the fact that we have this really difficult Venus Uranus, Mars has crossed over Uranus, it's like there's been a perfect storm brewing. And I don't
Mhm.
know if there was something
Mhm.
intentional that came to be that was very traumatic, difficult, could have involved sexuality, eighth house, hidden hidden kind of issues that may deal with either death or sexuality in some way. And again, fifth house could have been pleasure, fun, or relating to pleasure and fun, but with a very dark kind of undertone. And what I don't really quite gather is whether it involved children or some form of self-expression or some kind of block or difficulty around self-expression. But to me, this looks like a really difficult circumstance that happened that could have left a lasting. And obviously, if you're going back into the past and saying, okay, what happened, I
Mhm.
honestly had this situation happen. I had something very similar show up in the synastry of a past client who was violently raped. I'm not saying that
Wow.
that's what happened, but that kind of
Right.
challenge to or traumatic occurrence could have been at play. Now it can manifest in many different ways, but there's there's some intensity to this one for sure.
Because of
Yeah.
Saturn's in his in Aquarius, right? So Saturn rules Aquarius by
Mhm.
by ancient standards.
Right. So the great malefic is very strong and is making an exact square
And the Pluto's
to Uranus.
applying to Saturn too during that Pluto squaring Pluto. To see, the
Hmm.
thing is that the Pluto transit, right? That's like a 7-10 year long deal,
Hmm.
and you're coming up to like
Huh.
it's already squared the moon. It's applying
Uh-huh.
to its own natal position. So we're talking about like a 10-year period of like shit can be tough,
Yeah.
in because of Pluto.
I'm halfway through it. So, I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I'm
then
Yeah.
halfway
Pluto's
through it.
also applying to Saturn here too, because like Pluto's getting ready to ingress into Aquarius. Well,
Yeah.
it already has, but back then, like it hadn't yet.
Yeah.
Right now.
And I mean, it could
Interesting.
be connected to some kind of loss that does deal with something close to your heart or something that really just means a lot. And I don't know how, but yeah, like you said, Aaron, Saturn is strong, and Saturn being a difficult energy in the fifth house of self-expression and play and fun, making this Uranus brings a lot of unpredictability. So the fact that it was transiting your eighth house for the last 7 years, I mean, Uranus just went into the ninth. Now you're ready to take the last 7 years and all of the challenges that and all of the unpredictability and upheaval that came in that last 7 years, and you'll be able to understand the greater purpose of it or the greater meaning of it, because part of, like you said, your purpose in sharing knowledge or your using your voice is to help heal other people. That is part of your
Mhm.
North Node Dharma, but there is a greater meaning. There was a greater purpose for it, but the tumultuousness of it and the kind of destabilizing energy of what Uranus brought through that eighth house is something that, yeah, especially as it's gone across, it went across your Mars. It totally changed the way that you use your will in a sense with Mars and Scorpio. Like you have a very effective will. You can be quite, you mentioned something about finances earlier, and you have Saturn in the second house, which can bring limitations and blocks financially
Mhm.
earlier in life. But you have this
Mhm.
really powerful will that when you get into alignment with what you're supposed to be doing, and yeah, I would agree with you. I've heard that too about, when you go inward and you start to really attune to what that deeper purpose for your life is, and you own, this is about like getting stronger and owning your power, and how really you're, I would want to ask you if in some ways you're kind of afraid at how powerful you can be, because you don't want to ever be cruel, or you don't want to ever, but you have that capacity to like just like off with their head with Mars and Saturn, and
100%. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah.
Very
Yeah, I could
Scorpio. Angela's very has a Scorpio vibe for sure.
Mhm,
I
mhm,
thought for
uh-huh.
sure she would have been Scorpio rising before I looked at her
mhm.
chart.
Right.
Which
It was
is
Pluto you were picking up on, right?
Yeah,
Pluto
obviously.
yeah,
Yeah, Pluto moon.
on the
First
ascendant.
that's a very Scorpio like. You know.
which is wild because Jonathan is a Scorpio. That's my
Ah.
husband.
Mm.
So do you want to share so because I'm
Sure,
not
I
trying
can't
to keep Susan
yeah,
in
no,
the
no.
blind here, and I don't
Okay,
even
no,
know
that's
exactly what you're referring. I think
you
I
what
know it.
you think you know. Yeah, I think you
Yeah.
know. So I can't see you guys because this
Oh, here,
thing is
let
still
me
up.
stop sharing. Yeah, let me stop sharing. Okay.